What's up, everybody? My name is Lance. I am the host of the Health and Real Estate Podcast. And on today's episode, my guest is actually a very good friend of mine, Bruce De Silva. What's up? And I met him a few years ago at actually a really cool, like, rooftop Malibu vegan event. Do you remember that?
I do, yeah. And I remember you saying, "Yeah, I do real estate and I'm vegan." I said, "What? That's
Yeah,
possible?" Because my brother does real estate. He's not vegan, unfortunately. And then it just blew me away. I'm like, "Wait a second. Was I approaching this whole real estate thing the wrong way?" So yeah, it was mind-blowing to me, truly.
definitely. Yeah, it's funny. Whenever I tell people about vegan realty, they're like, "What?" Like they can't comprehend. Even the vegans are like, "What do you mean? Are the houses made of tofu and broccoli? Like, what is
I
going
mean, that would be a nice upgrade, but no, I mean, yeah, it's so true. I
on?"
think it's maybe they counteract. Typically, the idea is like just with veganism and some of their ideas, maybe oh, you have all this, you're selling houses, doing this, but for you, you bridge that gap, and I just really personally, I didn't think they could be connected. So
Definitely. Yeah,
meeting you helped me build that bridge.
definitely. And the gist behind it is we're just a vegan team, and we donate $1,000 to animal rescues every time we help someone buy or sell a house. And that event that I met you at, that was like you were freshly new to LA, right? Like a
Yeah.
week or two. So if you kind of want to go back into your backstory a little bit and tell us kind of about your transformation, personal development, and kind of how you landed in LA.
Yeah, no, it's great. I'll condense it, but definitely make sure all the pieces are there. So grew up in New Jersey till I was 18, parents from Brazil, and I love New Jersey, but I was the youngest of four kids, and we didn't really have such financial stability. So for me, I wanted to see for college, is there a way that I could go a little further from home than just staying close like everyone else did, and see more of the world that I wasn't able to see up until that point. So then decided to go to school in Florida, in Tampa. Loved it. Loved the 4 years there. I got introduced to this organization called the Peace Corps by a friend of mine. And through that, I said, oh, it's awesome. Something that's totally different. I want to change the typical go to college, work corporate, yada, yada approach. So I did that, which is pretty, not anti corporate, but not corporate
Mhm.
quite at all. So then from there, I applied to Peace Corps. I got accepted, went to Morocco for a year, did Peace Corps there, loved it, worked as a youth development specialist. So different culture, different language, different religion and everything. And my job was to acclimate, to connect with the people there. And I wasn't living in a fancy city. I was in some city called Al Hejab that was an hour south of Fez, which most people may know. And I worked there teaching the youth, but also people from, let's say, 5 years old all the way to 50. And I was doing it in Arabic. So it was a really eye-opening experience and just seeing how to connect and how to teach. From there, I had experience there that really shifted my focus, where I was like, all right, how is it that where I just taught at, which was a Dar Shabab, which is kind of like the YMCA, when I was teaching, one day there was a fight that broke out between it was, I think, a 15-year-old student, a 23 or 25-year-old teacher, and the principal or the president of the YMCA, who was 45 plus. All three of them started fighting, and all the kids in the YMCA started to see it. There were probably close to 100 kids and young adults in the street that were seeing this. For me, it was heartbreaking because you guys are supposed to be coming together, unifying, and it really got physical. It was nuts. So from that, I'm learning, okay, how does conflict happen? Why is this going on? What's the whole deal with that? So from that, I end up going to Tel Aviv in Israel, where I did a master's program in conflict resolution and mediation, really to get a whole gist of conflict, how it works, what happens, how to navigate all that. And it's a pretty heavily conflict region in the world. So it was sort of, culturally, I could learn a lot. It was pretty balanced. It wasn't so pro one side, which I liked. And I got to learn the roots of conflict, how it happens. So I do that. COVID hits, so I'm there finishing my degree for the year. And once that is finishing, I wanted to stay in Israel, but I couldn't really find work and I wasn't able to get a visa or anything. So I moved back to the States. I lived at my family home for about 2 or 3 weeks. And then I moved to DC to live with my brother and to try to find work in that capacity. So when I got to DC, I thought I was going to do mediation work and be a conflict resolver, which never really panned out. There were job opportunities, but they didn't really pay well. And I was trying to make more money, of course.
Mhm.
And this was COVID too, so jobs were just super weird. So then at that point, I started doing, some small side gigs. I worked at Equinox for a bit. And then I realized I should probably start working for something that has my degree. So I applied for one job, which was basically being a lobbyist for a really big super PAC. And after about 6 or 7 interviews, I got the job. So I was stoked. I finally got the job. They were going to send me to Fort Myers to work from Florida. But then, as I was preparing for it, I stumbled upon Tony Robbins' live seminar. So I said, "Wow, this is cool." I read one of his books. I saw the movie, and then it was cool because after I saw his movie, within a few weeks later, I saw that there was a live event of his, and it was a few months, or I think maybe a month or two from when I saw it. It was in West Palm Beach, Florida. I had enough money from my side hustle jobs to afford it, so I basically just said, "All right, I'm going to do it." And then when I went there, man, it was nuts. It was just a very different experience. Tony was, larger than life, but also I saw the stuff that he was doing, and I'm like, wait a second. He's been able to monetize this. He has massive reach and impact, and he's speaking from authenticity, and he can actually help. I've actually had some challenging experiences too. For most of my life, I've been helping people just because I enjoy it, helping them think and see things differently. And then I said, and then there was a question at the event of, how do you want to live your life? How do you want to have the most impact? And for me, I thought the way I have the most impact is if I work in this political organization and do this and that, which was fine. But for me, I realized I can also still have impact without being politically involved. And then from that moment, I said, all right, I'm going to leave that job. So when I got back to DC, about, I think a couple days later, maybe the next day, I called the organization. I said, "Hey guys, thank you so much, but I'm actually going to be going in a different direction." And they said, "Okay, cool, no problem." Boom. So from there, I just really dove all into learning about coaching work, continuing my side hustle. And as I was continuing to study and learn and read and do workshops and all this stuff, I started to actually go out there and said, "All right, I should advertise myself and start trying to find clients." But
Mhm.
really, the key is to attract them. So then I got my first client. He was a guy from in his mid 40s from Turkey, and it was actually for dating. So I went out with him and I gave him some pointers, some tips, some conversation stuff. And it was just eye-opening to me because when that happened, the very next day, he basically sends me money on Zelle for I think $150 because we did 2.5 hours of work. So I think it was 60 an hour uh, for the half hour, $30. So I got that in my Zelle account and I was shocked. Like, what? Someone paid me for words that came out of my mouth? This is crazy, man. And it's not a company, it's not. So it was really an eye-opening moment that that could work. And then from there, and I'm sure we'll segue to the next question. From there, I just thought, okay, this is really possible. Definitely not easy, but possible. So I kept building as much as I could. And with regards to the personal development journey, I just noticed that if I was able to help this guy with what I know, just from that amount, what would it look like if I learned more, which I barely knew. I didn't know really so much at that point, but I knew enough. What if I learn even more? I'm even more active. And there are probably people like this guy who are maybe younger, same age or older, who I could actually help. So consuming books, left and right, personal development, psychology, human behavior was a really big one. And then I'm sure we'll get to it. But then later on, there was a relationship I had that didn't pan out the way I wanted. So then I just really had to take a look at the drawing board and think, okay, you got someone really great, but you weren't able to sustain it. What happened? So I read all the books. I actually hired a dating coach, but I think that was a little bit after, and just really got down to the brass tacks of it. And from using that, what I learned was very helpful for me, and then also helpful for clients I worked on with in the future and even till today.
Awesome.
A
Well,
lot,
yeah.
a lot of just reading and learning, but also doing the things that it says doing, even if it was quite uncomfortable, especially socially. Because private, it's not that bad, but socially, it can be tough.
Awesome. Well, while we're on the topic, do you want to share with us some dating advice that could help people today? Because I know there's a lot of lonely people out there, and loneliness is an epidemic today.
That's right. So even, great question, and we could even tie that in to some component of, let's just say real estate and health and all these things. Life for me, it's constituted of social connections. you don't need to be an extrovert. And even at times, I'm more of an ambivert. So it's an introvert and extrovert kind of a mix. And I think most people actually are. But of course, it varies. The thing that's the most helpful is to think of it like this, right? If I asked you guys, let's play a game of chess, and then you tell me, oh, I don't know the rules. I don't know how to play. I said, okay, it doesn't matter. We're going to play the game regardless. What do you think? And I'm not going to teach you how to play the game because I want to win, or I at least want to enjoy it with an equal competitor to some extent. So if we start playing this game and you don't know the rules, Lance, what do you think are the odds are of you potentially winning that game of chess if you don't know any of the rules?
I mean, almost zero.
Almost zero. You can't even get lucky at that point because it's like a baby playing someone in the NBA. It's just you just can't win. There's just no because there are certain rules, right? And even if you think about, let's say if we're playing a volleyball game, and if you're on my team and we want to enjoy the game together, yeah, I can coach you and I can teach you, which is fine, but it'll take time. There's a big learning curve, and also we're probably not going to have as much fun. We definitely could than we normally would because you don't know the rules. So for me,
Mhm.
I make that analogy to social relationships, dating specifically, anything interpersonal, because if you don't know the baseline fundamental rules of human behavior, then you really can't get anywhere, right?
Mhm.
That's for me just the biggest piece of advice is get to know how other people behave, but first get to know yourself the best. Because you might be attracted to a house, you may be attracted to a health regimen, you may be attracted to someone romantically, and what you realize is you're attracted to this entity, this person, this thing with the houses, and then you have that for 3, 5, 10 years, and then at the end you think, wow, I actually don't really like that. But the reason you didn't know you didn't like it is because you didn't know yourself what you even liked. And most of what you do like comes from influences that are not negative, but they're just there. So my whole advice is learn human behavior as much as possible, really get to know yourself, and then read about what it is that actually makes people do what they do, because then you can make more educated guesses and you're not playing as much on defense. Because when you do that, you're on your back heels. Yeah, I mean, even someone who taps you, you're going to fall all the way back. But if you're ready, if you're, prepared to pounce at any moment, someone who pushes you, okay, you can withstand it. So you're not reacting, you're preparing. And I think that's the big difference people need to make if they want to have any kind of success in relationship, business, family dynamics, with their health. If you know human behavior, you are not going to be playing on the defense entirely, but you're going to have the chance to not play on the offense aggressively, but just play in the game and not lose because you didn't know what the rules are.
Awesome. Thank you. So I know you do some coaching and it's kind of personal development, but you kind of find your niche in dating, right? Is that
Yes.
awesome? Tell me more about that.
Yeah, I mean, the idea is, like you said before, epidemic of loneliness, but also there's a saying, right? You can have a house, but it doesn't mean you have a home. Someone
Mhm.
could have a mansion, however many thousand square feet. I don't know real estate that well, but all that stuff. So you could have a house, let's just say, I don't know, 3,000 square feet. That's a lot, I think, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So 3,000 square feet. And oh, it's amazing. Oh, but no one's in there. No one's connecting with you. You don't even have friends that want to come over. Okay, you have the house, but this other person who has 500 square or maybe like 1,000 square feet, and they have someone that really cares about them, they make it nice, they have a home. Because that's, I think, what the key difference is from having a house and having a home is essentially who in your life can enjoy it with you. So I focus on coaching in general, just mindset, personal development. But I think with dating, it's not even with other people. When I used to be learning all this material, people would ask me, "Oh, Bruce, are you dating somebody?" I said, "Yeah, I am." They go, "Really? What's their name?" I said, "Well, let me tell you about this person. They're really interesting. They're good looking, they're charming, they're smart, they're funny, they're handsome, they're humble." They go, "Wow, who is this person?" And I said, "It's me." They go, "What? You're
Mhm.
dating yourself?" I said, "Aren't you?" They go, "No, you can't do that." Of course I can. Because yeah, if you go to date someone, right, the idea is, hey, I want to have you a part of my life to help expand it. But how can you give something to someone that you don't even know what it is? So you could be giving them sugar, but if you put too much sugar, right, you're not going to want to drink the tea. If you put just the right amount, just the right dose, you're good. And what if you have two pouches, one's sugar and one's arsenic? You give them you give them the sugar versus arsenic, but you give them a drop of arsenic, even with the best intention, you just kill this person. right?
Mhm.
So meaning that's a metaphor for how we connect on an emotional level. Just are we showing up? Do we know our biases? Are we comfortable with making mistakes? Because once we have that base, we can actually give out more instead of being the one who's chasing to an extent where it actually becomes highly unattractive. So we see it now. People, they're not connecting. They have relationships with robots, AI on their phone. They are, I was just at an event and people were watching Love Island at this venue, and it was so sad. I mean, Entertainment Valley was fine, bro, but they were filming the finale. Like, oh my God, look at this. Uh, but what I noticed, and maybe I could be wrong, but a lot of what that is, it's like the highest uh, surface level of how humans are with attractiveness, which is fine. Be attractive, that's all good. But people, in a way, from what I've seen and who I was speaking to at this event, they would record who's on screen. They would kind of outsource their own personal love life to something that's so artificial and manufactured because they don't know how to do it. And they're so desperate for love and connection that they're outsourcing it to a multi-million-dollar industry that provides illusions to make them feel, hey, I'm actually closer than I think. But the reality is, the people who might be watching the show are not closer to their ideal relationship, probably may not have respect for themselves because they see such a gap between them and who's there. And they think they're connected because they're talking about the same thing people are talking about. But if these people were to text five people in their life of, hey, can you help me for an hour move stuff? They may not even say yes. So that's my issue of the lonelier we are, the more societal problems come into play. So my role is helping people just understand how do I attract not just romantic partners, but also friends and just even myself. How do I pull this stuff in? And again, it starts with know yourself, know human behavior, but be very honest with where you are at and where you'd like to go.
Definitely. Yeah, I love how you were describing the perfect person. You're like, yeah, it's myself. I'm dating myself.
That's it.
Um, I love that, and you should date yourself, but you should always be working on yourself.
Yeah.
And I have found whenever I'm working on myself and bettering myself, then it's just my dream partner was just naturally like came into my life.
Yes. Yeah.
So, but when I was like out chasing and not working on myself, that's when I have the least luck, you know?
It's so
So,
weird. So weird how that works. Truly. Because it's like, wait, what? I stopped. What? Especially guys who get into relationships or even with ladies, it goes, okay, in a relationship, great. And then now, what the heck? These people, like, they want me now? Whoa. Where was this before? You had it. Now you're just a little less needy,
Mhm.
you know?
Definitely. So yeah, some dating advice, work on yourself, become the type of person to attract your dream partner. And my big thing is go to events that you're passionate about and skip and bypass all the dating apps.
100%. Yeah, the dating apps, big scam, massive scam. I can go into that. Um, I think a truly tangible, actionable piece of advice would be two things. One, understand evolutionary psychology as much as you can. It's not deterministic, meaning that it's not 100% accurate 24/7, but it's about, for me, I really think it's about 80 to 90% of the time true. But then the second thing you can do is make three lists, and you can do this if you want a job, if you want new friends, but it does help with dating specifically. So you're going to make three lists. The first list is everything you want in a partner or partners, right? Whatever you're into. And what you're going to do is you're going to describe them exactly as you to the T from a mental standpoint, physical standpoint, spiritual standpoint, emotional, like all the things. Just be very specific with how you describe them.
Mhm.
And the second list is going to be the exact opposite, meaning what do you not want in a partner or partners? So what you want, what you don't want, be super duper specific. And then the last list, if you guys want to try to guess, I'll give you a moment. The last list is going to be who you need to become in order, like what you need to do to become the person who attracts the first list and repels the second list.
Mhm.
That truly do that. I did that, I mean, years ago, and it literally just filtered out so much of the nonsense. And I said, oh wow, I want someone who's healthy and athletic and who wants to work out at the gym at 6:30, but am I doing that? Oh, I want someone who's vegan. Am I vegan? I want someone who reads. Do I read? Not that they need to do the same thing, because it's okay to be different, but the overall tendencies and habits should somewhat align. So if you do those three lists, really you'll be in much better shape than before you started listening to this amazing podcast by the one and only Mr. Lance Wilson.
Thank you, and I love that idea. Um, so yeah, let's. I kind of want to. I want you to share a story you told me when we first met, where it was back when you were in either Jersey or DC.
Yep.
I think it was shortly after the Tony Robbins event where you were almost carjacked. So if you kind of want to share that story, and then wasn't that somewhat of a catalyst for you kind of moving to LA?
Yeah, that's literally perfect timing. It was in DC. It was a catalyst. It facilitated it for sure. DC, beautiful city, great spot. I love it. I was there for 2.5 years, and there are different neighborhoods, right? So there's typically in the northwestern neighborhoods, it's a little more affluent, and then you have the more eastern side of DC, which a little bit less, and then the southwest, which is more governmental. You have like Georgetown, Foggy Bottom, things like this. And then the Capitol sits around like the center part. The actual Capitol building, White House, is northwest in Pennsylvania. So we lived in Logan Circle. And at that time, it was weird because we moved to this new house. And within 9 months, the last event was the carjacking I'll get to. But the last 9 months, I had a lot of crime happen to me, which was crazy. I had my car broken into. The house was broken into. Someone literally came into the house. I had two electric scooters of mine that were quite expensive. They were both stolen. Uh, I got mugged one time walking home from the bar. So, kind of my fault to an extent. It was late. I was, inebriated a bit. So that wasn't pleasant at all. But then the last one, which was for me kind of the straw or how do you say, the straw that broke the back or whatever it is. Yeah, I was in my house in Logan Circle, and my car was parked about maybe a 1 minute walk away. But I had to go to my car to change something on the window, and I had to just do it that night because the next day I'd be working and I couldn't do it, and I'd get a ticket, all that stuff. Probably street cleaning or something like that. So I was actually on the phone with my dad at about like 9:30, 10 p.m. We were talking about some work stuff, all that. So from there, I said, "Okay, Dad, stay on the phone. I'm gonna go to the car. I need to change something." He says, "Cool." Go outside my house, Logan Circle, very safe neighborhood, you would think. And I go to my car, I sit down, I put my phone on speaker in the passenger seat. I sit there, and then I start opening the glove compartment and then taking some stuff out, some forms that I would need. So while I'm there, I hear a knock. I turn, I said, I look to my left, there's some person there. I said, "Oh, sorry, I can't help you." Whatever it was. I barely looked. It was late, 11 o'clock. So I go back and then I get another knock. I look and I said, "Can I help you?" He goes, "Hey," wearing a black ski mask. I think he was wearing a white shirt and black pants, I think. And he said, "Get out of the effing car. I'm taking you right now." And it was just me in the street. I'm parked in between two cars late at night in this pretty residential area. I said, "Huh? No, you're not." So I looked to the side. I reached for the door handle and then I locked the door super quick. As I did that, he goes for the door and starts plucking at it. I said, "Hold on, is this?" I'm thinking, "Is this happening right now?" And then I said out loud, Am I being robbed right now?" And my dad says, "Bruce, filho in Portuguese, filho, like, is everything okay?" I said, "Dad, I think I'm being robbed right now, huh?" And I had a really long day as well, so I was just, come on, are you serious? A whole other thing. So I do that, and then the guy's there, uh, swinging on the door. I said, I got to get out of here. So this part's a little foggy, but I believe I maybe either turned the car on or it was already on because the weather was hot. So I went to put the car in reverse so that I could reverse drive. But as soon as I did that, he reaches into his pocket, goes out, and you guys can see if you're listening to the audio, but basically puts the weapon at the window. And I was pretty shocked. I said, "Oh my God, wait, this is pretty real. Is this happening?" So he says, "Listen, man, I'm not playing right now. Like, get out of the effing car." I said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, like, let's just slow down for a second. Hold on, take a moment." He goes, "No, I need the car. I need the car." So then I really quickly thought, because when you're in those settings, your brain just thinks so fast. It's really survival. So I was thinking quickly, okay, if I get out of the car, he can still shoot, stab me, whatever. If I stay in the car, he could break through the window and still shoot me, whatever it could be. Uh, and what I thought is, okay, I'm basically screwed either way. I got to try to delay as best as I can because the only thing that's keeping me safe is the door. That's basically it. So I actually finessed him quite a bit. And what I did was I was remembering a book I read by Chris Voss called uh, Never Split the Difference. A really good book. And that, as well as some tactics I learned from my master's degree when I was in Israel, I put my left hand on the steering wheel, and and he was on my left hand side. So what I said to him, I said, "Listen, man, even if you take the car right now, where are you gonna go? There's no gas in the tank. You won't make it very far." The reason I did that is I was actually blocking the gas tank so he couldn't really see it so well. But I blocked it so much so that he didn't know what was happening, but not too much that he knew I was trying to hide something. It was a
Mm-hmm.
perfect balance, a delicate dance. So I was doing that, and then he said, okay, man, listen, whatever. Like, I need everything in the car right now. So in my mind, I thought, wow, he actually he conceded. He said yes. Just, I mean, I did some sales work, but he worked with me a little bit. That was nice. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, great. He's willing to work with me. So I had my phone out. There's some stuff lying around, and he goes, man, I need everything in the car now. I said, man, take a look. What are you gonna? There's nothing here you're gonna want, truly. And then he looks again. He goes, okay, you know what, man? Like f this. I need some money right now. I'm not leaving until I get it. So I look at him and I was being very frank. Truly, this like all this was being honest, except for the hiding the gas tank. I said to him, I said, listen, man, I would love to help you out right now. I truly would if I could. I don't have any cash. I get that you're very stressed. It's a very tough situation. I get it. Life's been tough. And I'm really speaking in this demeanor. And I said, look, I'm more than happy to help you if you want to look for work, if you want to look for something else. Let's figure it out together. I'm on your side, man. Yeah, I'm disappointed you're doing this, but let's figure it out. And I swear he basically went from this, well, because I looked at his eyes, I saw fear and anger. So he went from a fearful and anger-filled state to lowering the weapon, and his eyes went straight at me to kind of just looking down, sort of as if he was ashamed or disappointed, or more so ashamed. And at that moment, Lance, I was thinking, oh my God, is this actually working? Am I not going to get shot tonight? This is great. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So unfortunately, a car ends up driving by after 3 minutes. That felt like an hour, and he booked it. You know, so he books it. He makes it out, and I actually try to kind of follow him to get more details for the police, things like this. But it was really crazy, man, because for me, realizing that was, life is super short. Uh, People are struggling. Man, he was a young man, probably mid to late 20s. So people are struggling. And I also have a skill of communicating where I can disarm people to some extent and effectively communicate, so much so that this guy wouldn't shoot and kill me. Because what if I responded in a different way? He shoots and kills me, right? Terrible situation. I wouldn't want that to happen. I'm a fan of life. However, that happens. They catch him, right? Now what happens? My whole family gets ruined for a while. His whole family gets ruined for a while. And it's more crime. It's more like all these things are going to be happening because really, I mean, more reasons in general for sure, but also because I wasn't aware as to how to navigate that circumstance. I would say it was probably 5% skill, maybe 95% luck. But in those circumstances, every percentage, every ounce of skill is going to help you get more luck. So man, for me, that was a huge catalyst. I realized life is quite short with other things happening as well. And I was ending my lease at the time, and I was like, should I go sign another lease? Should I do this? Blah blah blah. But that happens. Lease ends. I have a friend from Jersey who, around the same time, he passed away to drug use and things like that. So I really thought, man, this is the time to take action, make things happen. And from there, I basically took a few months, but because I was planning my move, packed my car, squeezed everything I could squeeze inside. I left my most of my library though at my brother's house, and then from there made the trip. Cinco de Mayo 2022, 23, I don't remember, and then made the journey out to LA, which is where everything sort of began. So really, from a really tense, challenging situation, taking what I learned from that and then bringing it here to LA and just everywhere I go of, you know, there are solutions to problems that aren't necessarily requiring violence. And I'll end it with a joke that's, or like a little saying, I think it's by Confucius. He says, you'll learn that violence isn't the only answer when a mosquito lands on your testicles. Something like that. So now I'm thinking, oh, okay, that's what, because obviously, there's other ways to solve conflict instead of force instead.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was powerful, man.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that story, and thank you for sharing it. And I'm sure like everything you've learned up until that point helped you, kind of navigate that situation. Maybe some of the conflict resolution you learned in the Peace Corps, some of the things you learned in the Tony Robbins courses, the Chris Voss book, Never Split the Difference.
Mhm.
All that just kind of added up, and then you did it. But that's a very powerful story. One, because you had a gun pointed on you, like that could have potentially been your last day on earth. So it made you realize, holy crap, life is short.
Yeah.
And two, it kind of proves some of these things that you're working or that you're learning are working in one of the most like stressful, difficult situations
Yeah,
ever.
it's pretty
So
stressful, bro.
yeah.
It's pretty stressful.
And so that's a powerful story. And that was somewhat of a catalyst moving to LA.
Mm.
And I think I met you fairly shortly after you moved to LA.
Maybe a few weeks or something. Yeah.
What was your move like, and what was kind of the contrast between DC versus LA?
That's a great question. I mean, I think most people now, if you have the opportunity, don't stay in the same city. Not because your city's not good, but if you only eat one ice cream for your entire life, you actually can't say it's the best ice cream, that it's your favorite ice cream, that you love it, because by definition, you don't know the contrast. You can't compare it to anything, right? So similar to cities wise, I had the fortune of living in a handful of different places, from Tampa to Morocco to Tel Aviv to DC, now LA, and growing up in Jersey. So definitely have some variance, which is quite nice. I know many people don't get that, so it's all good. But even traveling, things like this are really quite big. So the move, I was really ready to make it. It took me, I think, 27 years, right? I moved when I was 27. The passing of my friend was a really big catalyst. So when that happened, I had to recover for a little bit because I was helping him out with a lot of stuff up until that point. And I said, all right, I have some work lined up in LA that I could probably do to support some of the coaching I'm doing. You know, I'm going to pack my car. I'm going to drive, take me about 4 days, and I'll stay with a family friend in the beginning, and then I'll figure it out. Cool. So I pack my car, Cinco de Mayo. I drive. The first day, I end up in Indianapolis. The second day, I end up in Oklahoma City, which is surprisingly a pretty cool spot. I actually liked it. And then I also ended up in Phoenix the next day, and then drove the next day and got to LA at like 2:30. So it was a great drive, podcasts, conversations. I really thought it was great, especially driving through Nevada. There's at least maybe 100 miles of just truly open road, super serenic, love it. But it was actually a challenge in the beginning because the two jobs slash gigs I was going to do to help support my income, they both really fell through. So I was thinking, oh shoot, this is not good. And I was staying with a family friend for a couple weeks, and then that had I don't say ran its course, but that wrapped up. So I stayed with another friend who's a friend of that family friend for a few weeks, and then from there, I actually didn't really have a place, and the I applied for one spot that I was able to get like last moment, and I basically didn't think I was going to get it. So I'm like, oh, what am I going to do? The night before, they say, okay, you're good. You can live here. Cool. So all that stuff. So those were the challenges for sure in the beginning. But what actually made it easier than other cities I've lived in was my intention coming in of, okay, LA, I've always wanted to live here. It's a very vegan friendly city. And I really need to take action to just make things happen. So a couple things that helped was having a membership at the Equinox, because gyms, if you ever move to a new city, got to join a gym where people are socializing and mingling. uh, I really proactively seeked out vegan events, as well as finding potlucks as well. So those three things, right? Events of things that you're interested in, potlucks, which are just community building, meeting people, food, everyone connects over food. But if you're actually not vegan, then maybe you don't. I don't know. With vegans, at least. So there's those two, and then the gym. So you're meeting people who are health conscious and health oriented. So doing those three really just helps so much. I mean, I met people quite quickly. I was very proactive. For me, it kind of felt like going to university again, right? Because when I went to university at 18, when I got to the campus, I'd never done a tour of the campus or anything. But I remember my mom and our friend dropped me off at the front. I see the building, Vaughn Building in Tampa, huge building. And I just thought, wow, this is a really, really fresh start to just go in, kind of just be 100% who you want to be. So I walked in and I was just friendly, shaking hands, connecting with people left and right. I said, oh, this is pretty good. So a lot of the lessons I learned from that were applicable to when I came to LA, and a lot of it was, you know, how do they say it? Fortune favors the bold, right? You don't get compensated in life for being shy and not taking initiative because
Mhm.
you're essentially waiting for life to give you a handout and say, hey, Lance, because you exist and because you tried, we'll give you things. Maybe, but why operate under that frame and just say, okay, I'm going to be proactive, make things happen. And for me, it turned out very well, right? That's how I met you. That's how I met more people in the community. That's how I just really got to connect with things that are more in alignment. And by doing that, I didn't have to do the things I used to be doing, which was I didn't need to be drinking or smoking or just certain activities where I would be more desperate to do just because there was a possibility of connection. But instead, I went to things that I liked, like you said about 20 minutes ago, because then that's where I started finding people that were more in alignment with how I was flowing, how I was moving, and it just made it much easier. So those three things, moved to LA, started slow, but turned out great. And of course, still has challenges, but comparatively to DC, it's night and day.
Mhm.
Night and day. Like DC is an awesome city. It's not as self-conscious. Uh, the dating scene there is different for sure as well, as it is in LA, but different in DC because it's so political that everything can be, misconstrued or used certain ways. But they're both nice because they're both global cities. The summers are good. The winters here are definitely better. Uh, it's a much smaller city, DC, which made seeing the entirety of it much more doable in really just a few hours. Whereas LA, driving 10 miles could take like 2 hours, maybe. As you
Yep.
know, right? So, yeah, both great cities, but I think LA may be more my speed. Although the only challenge with LA, as great as it is, I think it's sometimes too chill.
Yeah.
Sometimes. And I've gotten this from a bunch of people. So you tell me if you disagree. It's okay. It's so chill. And maybe it's just, I don't know, the circles I'm in. I don't know. But it's good. But I think some New York energy, some DC energy would every 3 months, I think would be really good.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree. If anyone's moving to a new city, plug into your passions and a
Yes.
community around those passions. And we are very blessed in West Side LA to like, they have an amazing community for veganism, for
Mhm.
activism, for health and wellness, and all those combined. So just an amazing, amazing community.
Mhm.
And there's so many community leaders, people part of communities, community events. And when you first came to LA, you went to a lot of community events
Yeah.
and then you became a community leader. You
Mm.
actually created the Vegan Men's Society.
Yep.
So please tell us how that transpired.
For sure.
Go about
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a great question. With I say the joke, right? So vegan men's society. It's a joke I was saving from earlier that I think is quite good. Uh, you know, so I would go to people when I was sharing this. At its genesis, I mean, the joke is really kind of how I came up with the idea. Uh, so first, I would ask people, when someone tells you they're vegan, right? What do you usually say? Like, what the hell's wrong with you, right?
it.
Typically that's a joke. And when you tell someone you're a man, what do they tell you? What the hell's wrong with you, right? It's a tough joke, but I think the idea is, there are certain stigmas just around certain identities, certain affiliations, whatever it is. And I realized, okay, so I'm vegan, I'm a man. Uh, what do I think would actually be really good with regards to what's missing? So they really, men's communities are just not men's groups necessarily, but just spaces for only men. It exists somewhat, but not so prevalently. Yeah, and in the vegan community for men, I noticed that there was no real vegan men's group. Right? There's pockets of men who are friends, but not a group of men that sort of join together that are hungry to be healthier, wealthier, uh, better at relationships, and happier. Right? So then I realized, okay, why don't we create something? So I reached out to a few people, sort of spit the idea out, and they said, yeah, this is great. Let's formulate it. Started about a little over a year ago. And we're not going for quantity necessarily, but we do have about 40 members right now. Uh, some that are more active than others, whatever it might be. But we've done summits. We're doing a potluck dinner tonight at one of the members' houses, and we're really just a community that is there to support each other with resources, guidance, some job opportunities, hangouts, whatever it is, because, men in isolation are pretty dangerous, in my opinion, right? I always say that the most dangerous people in the world are directionless young men who are unsure of really what to do next, right? They're the ones who, they don't have direction. Maybe they'll go join the military, which is great. Serving the country is awesome. But typically, when you don't have direction, you'll kind of just do whatever feels is suitable for that moment. So I think the idea was with a vegan men's society, and society because there's a focus on an elevation of collectively getting better. Okay, we can join this group. We're supported by other vegan men who have a standard, and everyone in the community is really hungry to learn more, to get physically stronger and healthier, to improve the quality of the relationship, and to just find ways to live better. And we do that by supporting one another, going to events. I remember we did a run like months ago, like runs we'll do, hikes we'll do, because once you create that, the community starts to build an immunity to the negative parts of being in isolation. So it's been good. We have over a year now and going. We're going to continue to grow and just bring in quality people and hopefully be a better representation to the public of what vegan men can look like and who they are. Because, whenever you believe in something and someone meets you and they realize that that is your belief or your identity, whether you chose so or not, you are a representative of that community or of that belief. So, and vegans were very passionate, as most people wouldn't know, but of course they are. Uh, sometimes you only get one chance to make a good representation because that person may never see you again. So why not, if you go to a dentist and the dentist has crooked yellow teeth, they may be the best, but our brains are more likely going to think, I don't know about that. I've seen this, I see trainers at the gym who they may have years of experience and be super knowledgeable. That's great. But if they're in their, let's say, 20s, 30s, and 40s, and sometimes they're super out of shape, they're super heavy, they're not taking care of themselves, I'm sorry, but that's not an attractive option for me. I'm just not interested in that. So with veganism and with men, you know, from what I've seen, unfortunately, a lot of vegan men just really get so fixated on the 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 calamities that are happening with people who aren't vegan in the world, which I totally get. It's totally true. But I personally believe we're also doing a disservice when we're vegan men who are out of shape, who don't take care of our hygiene. We don't know how to communicate well. We don't know how to connect with the relationship. We don't have money. So instead of us actually working and building, we're just out in the streets complaining, which is fine. I get it. But sustainably, I think that's a very strong antidote to people being in isolation and not feeling connected. And what from my conversations with vegan women, they're looking for vegan men that they can look up to and connect with. So really the goal of EMS, be a place where men can grow, connect, and become the people who really new vegans and older vegans and could become if they really put in the effort to becoming overall better men and being unapologetic about it. Because people say, "Oh, I'm a man. What does that mean?" Blah 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 blah. Okay, I'm a man. That's what that is. I may make mistakes, but I'm gonna learn. I'm gonna get better. I'm gonna learn and be around people who want to improve. I'm not ashamed to be a man. I'm not ashamed to be vegan. Both of these things are great. They're excellent. I love them. And how do I grow in that role? And when you're part of VMS, that's the trajectory you set yourself on.
Definitely. Yeah, I am a member of VMS, Vegan Men's Society, and just the quality and the caliber of the men in that group is unreal.
Yeah.
It makes me want to step my game up, and just some of the connections and the brotherhood that I've formed with those people is amazing. Like there are some lifelong friends and relationships in that group. So I am super excited to see the growth of it. I was just talking with another member, Justin, last week, and we're talking how it's been a little over a year since the Vegan Men's Society started, and he's like, "Yeah, you and I, and there's a few other of us. We're at the very first ever potluck
That's
at
right. Yeah.
Eric's house. And he said there's like
Right.
6 of us or something." He's like, "Isn't it cool? Like a year later to kind of like see what it's grown to." And it truly is amazing. I can't
Yeah.
wait to see what it's like next year.
Yeah.
So
I mean, let's keep growing, man. I think, yeah, you guys said it well. And I mean, it has a lot to do with the members, but yeah, the standard's high. Like life's not getting easier, in my
mhm,
opinion. It's just going to get more difficult
mhm,
because when there's more information, more confusion, more people are, stressed, we got to step up. So we just got one. If we keep doing that, we'll be in pretty decent shape.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to do many more events and meet many more new, amazing, awesome people.
Yes.
Awesome. So, um, kind of want to get back to your coaching. So,
Let's do it.
as we kind of wrap it up, tell, share kind of what you offer with your coaching. And then, if you have any like a client success story that you want to share.
Sure. So yeah, mainly the overall branch and where I've done my training and learning. It's a culmination of things. Someone says, "Oh, I'm certified." Great. Okay, I don't care if you're certified, right? Like there were doctors who were certified and were prescribing cigarettes as being healthy. So I mean, of course it matters to some extent. I'm not saying it doesn't. Practicing law, medicine, whatever. Okay, that matters. But do you know theory, and then did you ever apply it in actuality in your life? That's for me, that's a really big difference. And if you have great, everyone has a different preference. So for myself, the training that I did, the books that I've read that I'm always reading, just trying to learn, and also life experiences that have been quite challenging, uh, are where I try to get a lot of my knowledge and wisdom from and application, right? So with all of that, the overall branch is personal development because through that you're just developing the self, right? The personal. Uh, so with that stuff, it's overcoming limiting beliefs, learning better communication styles, conflict stuff, that's all the umbrella, but the part that I feel is the most important now is it has to be dating and relationships, and with that communication and things like this. So my general approach, the way that I like to do it, I don't believe it takes years to get a certain outcome unless you're growing a baby in your stomach. Like some things you can't rush, but other things they don't take that long. So, we all know people who maybe go to a therapist or a psychiatrist and after 10 years they're still depressed.
Mhm.
What? No, I mean, that's too long, man. I'm sorry. Like healing takes time. I get it. And some people have traumatic things, but 10 years and you're still on meds and you're still not feeling marginally better. Truly, maybe I need someone to explain that to me because it confuses me. So the way I go about it is I like to do a 1 month, 30-day setup. So within that, it's a 30-day program that I'll do for primarily for men, but I've also worked with women in the space. Is 30 days sending you a task you do each day. We do one call a week, and I'll also send resources to your home to supplement a lot of the learning that we do, right? Throughout that, the activities are going to have you take certain actions, teach you certain concepts, and all of that is a real big crash course into how do you actually increase your attraction? How do you learn to build comfort with people? How do you learn to lead the dynamic from just attraction and comfort to maybe into physical intimacy to that capacity? And then what I will typically do, depending on what's wanted, is that second month, teach a lot about maintenance and sustaining and how you can grow it. So for me, the max is really 3 months I'll do, but I love doing a 30-day crash course, pretty intensive, just to get you onboarded. Because you don't learn Italian by spending 5 years learning Italian for like 2 minutes a day. Yeah, you'll learn a little bit. But if we go to Italy and I throw you in the middle of the piazza in Capri and I say, okay, I'm leaving you here for the summer, only Italian, go. And then maybe I send someone who knows Italian who does some English can help you, you're going to do much better, right? So it's the concept like Tony talks about, which is full immersion and having me be there as well. And I do also offer uh, not 24/7 access for communication, but texting and responding within 2 hours, aside from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. So really accessible because I really want to be there with you each step of the way. As for success stories, yeah, I mean, plenty. I'll think of one for a woman, one for a gentleman I worked with. This woman I worked with, she was in DC and she was struggling with, she was in an abusive relationship. The guy was hitting her. She had a poor sense of self. And then, you know, we were doing the training and she thought really low of herself, which she did. But we realized a lot of that was stemmed from a past experience where she was sexually assaulted. It stuck with her. It was really traumatic in her brain. And what happened from that is I helped her give herself the confidence to basically end that relationship, to start doing work in personal training. She was documenting it, social media. And then within, I think, 3 or 4 months, she found a guy that she started dating. And then they actually, I think within 2 months ago, maybe they just moved in together. They got a dog. And, she has a testimonial that she sent me, but a lot of it is, thank you for just giving me resources and guidance and things along those lines. And just recognizing that although this thing happened to her, you know, if she could find a meaning in it, she could find a way that it's happening for her instead. So instead of playing again, like we said, on your heels on the defense, you can be ready to be a little bit on the offense. So that's for the lady perspective. For a gentleman that I worked with here in DC, he was actually, super smart guy, very well educated, works for a really big tech company. And his thing was that he was dating a girl that was just really out of alignment with his values, whose family didn't support them and who would criticize him. And he was saying, yeah, I like this girl, but if we break up, then I don't know what I'm going to do next. And I don't know, but like, I like her stuff. I said, okay, work with him. This one was for about 2 months. And I did a little bit of a different program. And for him, he ended up breaking up with this girl, which I thought was a very good idea. Family wasn't respecting you. She wasn't respecting him. The values were off. It's heading for a cliff. So they ended up breaking up, and we had a pretty intensive 2 month structure. And he learned the ins and outs of dating. He changed his wardrobe. He changed his hygiene a bit. He was going to the gym again, which he told me, I'm never going to the gym. The gym, it's a scam. I could be all mental. Yeah, I'll work out once a week, blah, blah, blah. No. So now he goes at least 3 to 4 times, changes wardrobe. And now he's actually with a woman that he finds gorgeous, that has very similar values, and that actually looks up to him in the dynamic that he wants, which she looks up to him as the leader. And they're going on now, maybe, I think 8 months, maybe. He's super happy. She loves him. He loves her. And it's going really well. Right. So I think the idea is, of course, you guys would have to see for yourself what that looks like. But my main approach with this gentleman, with this lady, is just teaching them, look, this is where you are. We need to ask you some really real and honest questions. See if it's in alignment. If it is, cool. If it's not, we may need to move. And then giving them certain tools and guiding them, not over the course of 10 years or 5 years of this nonsense, but hey, let's action pack it. Let's dedicate. Let's make it a full transformation. And then the results are within 2 months, they're now going from the position of being on the defensive, chasing, feeling weak, feeling like a victim, to getting rid of the person that abused them, the the person that disrespected their values and whose family didn't like them, to now the girl is in a profession where she can be her full self with a guy she loves, just adopted a dog, and with the gentleman broke up with the girl who didn't respect him, didn't share values, is now getting in better shape, is following his dreams and passions, is making more money, and is with a girl who has a lot of polarity with him, because now that he stepped into his masculine, which is his natural state, she can actually just flow very well with that. So the reality is, do you wait 5, 10 years, watch Love Island, read all these rom-coms, and then go out into the world and aimlessly look for something that's never going to happen? Maybe. I don't know. Like, you could win the lottery, or you can learn investing. You can find a skill. You can make connections. Which, if you do that in dating and relationships, it's not. There's still some luck, but instead of being lucky, you're actually going to be blessed. And my perspective is that the universe, whatever you think it is you're going to find ways to make your reality happen if you're cognizant of where you need to move to be in those environments. If you're interested in tall blonde women, typically you're probably not going to find them in, let's just say, South America, where it's predominantly brunette. And I could be wrong on that, but just typically on the basics, you probably have to go to Scandinavia, go to Norway, go to Sweden, go to Finland. If you want to find someone that's Muslim, okay, go to somewhere where there's Muslim women. And same for women. If you want a guy who's, just say, atheist and loves to work out, okay, where do they go? But you can't expect to find what you want if you don't even know what you're looking for.
Yep. If you want to find someone vegan, go to vegan events.
It's that easy, truly. But who knows? Who knows?
Awesome. Well, Bruce is out here helping happy couples. And so before we wrap it up, I have a joke off segment.
Let's
But
go.
if you wanted to share anything else, like you're just full of like fun stories, short educational stories, or cool little strategies, mindset hacks. Like, is there anything you want to share really quickly? Anything cool that you could think of off the top of your head?
Yes, I would say similar to Google. If you ever went on Google and you didn't get the answer you were looking for, so it may not exist, possibly. Uh, but people say ChatGPT can answer anything, kind of. But if you ever got, if you ever asked a question and you didn't get the answer you want, a lot of the times you weren't asking the question that was going to get you to where you actually want to get. So, the quality of the questions you ask will truly determine the quality of the answers you get. So, all I'd say is ask better questions would be key number one. Key number two, I'll add to it, is to tell better stories. And then key number three would be embody your philosophy as much as you can, because if you're acting out of alignment with your identity, you're gonna have a lot of conflict and friction, and it's gonna create resistance with where you want to move. So ask better questions, tell better stories, and embody your philosophy.
Mm, I love it. Perfect. All right. Well, before you want to tell people
I
how
saw
they
that joke. I
can
saw that joke.
contact you?
Oh, contact. Okay. See,
Yeah,
I got ahead of myself because I'm excited now.
yeah.
Yeah, so the best way to contact me would really just to be on Instagram. You can message me at Bruce underscore De Silva. Also, I have a website called Zeus with Bruce, has all my links there. And yeah, just truly reach out. We'll set it up. Of course, I see people are a good fit to work with. But even working with or just seeing what I'm up to, if you feel so inclined, because time is a very, very precious commodity. But
Mhm.
what I'll say is, you're almost never going to get disappointed if someone is asking you questions that make you think, and that's really what I'm passionate about. So feel free to check the stuff out. I do consultation calls for free. For the first one I do, it's 30 minutes. So we have that as a setup, and then we move from there if it makes sense. But either of those are totally good
Awesome. And then also, if you are interested in the Vegan Men's Society,
as
could they
well.
also reach out to you on Instagram?
Same thing. Yep. We're growing the group. For that, you'll have to fill out application as well and all that stuff. But yeah,
Yeah,
we are
you
looking to
don't
grow.
just accept anybody. You gotta be high
I mean,
caliber.
I mean that's life, man. That's how it goes. That's how it goes.
All right, now I end every podcast episode with my favorite segment, the joke off. So I will let you go first with your joke.
Okay, so the joke off. I like that. It's a nice play on words. So there was a monk, and he goes into a pizza shop, and he goes to the pizza man. Hey, excuse me, can you make me a pie? And the pizza guy goes, okay, sure. What would you like on it? And the monk goes, make me one with everything. And then there's actually another part of this joke that one of the VMS guys told me, I can't remember. Um, it was like, and then I think the monk gives gives like $1 to the person, and then the monk goes, where's the change? Right? Because it was like whatever. And then the pizza guy goes, change comes from within.
That's good. That
Yeah,
is
it was a nice one. I told that to Jay Shetty. I had a chance to meet him at an event, which was awesome. And I told him that, and he laughed, but I don't know, maybe there was pressure. There was cameras, so
yeah.
could have been pressure.
That's a good one. So I got an extra corny dad joke for
Let's
you.
hear it.
How come ants never get sick? Like ants, the little.
Oh, ants. Oof. How come ants never get sick? Um, huh. Shoot. I always try to answer these questions instead of just saying, I don't know, right? How come ants never get sick? Uh, Dang, there's so many directions. Because they're always working in groups and enjoying the sunshine. I don't
No,
know.
but because they have little antibodies.
Damn. You know what's this is the thing that pisses me off sometimes with dad jokes because they're so good. I love them, but it's like after you hear it, go, damn, I would have thought of that, but you didn't, of course. So yeah, that's good. That's good. I'm
Awesome.
gonna use that. It's good.
Well, cool. Thanks, Bruce. This was an absolute blast.
That's
And
good.
I'll be seeing you later tonight at the potluck.
That's right. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you, Lance, for hosting. Great questions, great goals. I think the idea is, you guys, we should all really try to model people such as Lance who are combining profession with passion. And if you're lucky enough, they're both the same thing. So
Definitely.
thank you, brother.
Awesome. Well, we are out. Have a good one, everybody.
Ciao, everybody. Bye.